Welcome back into the Grind City Media mock draft for 2024. Joining me for the billionth time, Brandon Rahbar. Thank you for coming back on, representing the OKC Thunder today. Okay, we were just talking before we kind of pressed record, but this draft is crazy, and there's so many different ways that OKC could go. They're coming off their best season in a decade, and they secured the 1 seed, obviously best in the West. Made it past the first round of playoffs. Not many weaknesses on the roster. Let's be so for real. They scored a lot. They played fast. They were good. I guess if I was to nitpick a weakness, it might be rebounding. Bottom 5 in the league in rebounding. Technically, playoff teams on the West or playoff teams in the NBA, the worst rebounding team, but like they also shot at a high percentage, so the rebounds won't necessarily be there. So we could go on and on. There's lots of different ways you could look at what the OKC Thunder need to add to this roster or what they get a chance to add. So Brandon, before I put you on the clock, do you see a specific need that OKC needs going further?
Yeah, I think you nailed that. I think it's size, and that includes rebounding. That means rim protection when Chet Holmgren is on the bench. A big to play next to Chet Holmgren, I think, in the starting lineup, like a starting four. I don't know what the future plans are with Josh Giddey. Nobody knows. But I think we saw in the playoffs when he was benched those last couple of games. Ideally, you want a power forward next to Chet. Chet's going to be the center that can rebound, play defense, and shoot. And that's going to kind of inform my draft pick, by the way. And then another big, like off the bench, when Chet sits to protect the rim.
Okay, so Chet obviously led this team in rebounding. He had almost 8 per game, and is kind of their. I don't know if I call him a center, right? Like the real like centers on the team are like Sar, Muscala, Biyombo for last year. But do you prefer Chet playing in the 4 or the 5?
The 5.
Okay.
I know like outside of OKC, it seems kind of wild because Chet's so thin. So I get it. But for the Thunder, the way they play, they want to play 5 out. And Chet is such a big key of that because he can shoot the ball and bring it big out of the paint on offense. And he's so multi-talented in so many different areas, but he can protect the rim as a 5 as well. So I think if you play him at the 4, it takes away some of the strengths and some of the advantages that he brings as a 5. So he'll bulk up, as he gets older. He'll put on some weight. He'll put on some old man strength, as he gets, older than 21 every year. So Chet at 5, I think, is the long-term plan for the Thunder.
All right. So we're building around Chet at the 5, Shea, obviously, Jalen Williams. And then you have a lottery pick this year after being the best in the West. So top 12 pick. I'm putting you on the clock. I already know I'm about to be surprised by this one, so I have my handy dandy notebook to see who we're taking. Brandon Rahbar, representing the OKC Thunder. Let me know who you're drafting this year.
At number 12, the Oklahoma City Thunder will select, maybe a bit of surprise, DaRon Holmes from Dayton. Is that a shocker?
I'm shocked.
Yeah. So he's usually mocked in the 20s. He's a guy that I've liked the entire draft process, and he's got some buzz going into the draft. All the things that I described that the Thunder need: size, rebounding, paint protection, shooting. DaRon Holmes is that guy, I think. And he reminds me of J-Dub in that the only reason he's mocked, later in the draft in the 20s is because he went to a small school. He's a little bit older for a rookie, and he's kind of a tweener. He's like a 4 or a 5. I think those are the only reasons. But like J-Dub, I think he's going to be a draft day riser.
Okay, so you kind of took my questions out of my mouth. So one, let's go quick. How do you see him fitting offensively within what OKC does?
Like so he's going to space the he's going to space the floor. And the Thunder want guys, all 5 positions, that can dribble, pass, and shoot. And he's a guy that can do those things as a big. He's a really good passer for a big, really good, actually. And he can shoot. He shot like 38% from 3 in college. So I think he's a guy that you can play next to Chet that can continue to space the ball. And, he can create some of his own offense in the paint and score at the rim as well.
Okay. And then the big concerns with Holmes were one, age, which that's kind of like everyone's concern when you're not getting like a 19-year-old. It's like how much room do they have left to grow? How much room do they have left to develop? And then you're saying just not as many eyes because he's not like a Duke or Kentucky guy.
Yeah, exactly. I think those are the concerns. But he played really well in the tournament
Mhm.
against really good competition. He excelled. Like he's one of those guys. I think that just because he went to a small college, his numbers were great. He had a great combine. Again, I go back to Jalen Williams. He was a guy that was at a small school. He was projected to go in the early second round, late first round, and he kept rising. He played well in college. He showed out at the combine. He was a tweener. He was older. So to me, there's a lot of Jada vibes with Holmes.
And I think OKC would be so happy with another Jalen Williams. Like he has been, obviously it's Shea, obviously it's Chet, but he is like that. I don't even want to say third guy, but like of the top three guys at OKC. So you get another one of him. I think everyone's happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the Thunder's big three definitely SGA, Chet, and Jada. And if you get another guy, even if he just excels as a role player, if they
Mhm.
can get a guy, whether it's starting at comes off as a rookie, a guy that can play a role, that can grab some rebounds, play some defense, shoot some threes, and set up some guys with playmaking and excel in that role, that's a huge win. To finish number one in the West and to even have a lottery pick is a win. So if you get a really good role player out of that, huge win.
Is there a reason you don't want Zach Edey on your team?
Look, I think Zach Edey for a lot of teams could be a really nice like bench big. I think he'll be able to score at the rim. I think he'll be able to protect the paint. But the way that the Thunder play the 5-out system, they want a big that can shoot. I
Yeah.
don't know if Zach Edey's going to be able to be that guy that can space the floor. And then also they want their fours and their fives to be switchable on the perimeter on defense to be able to guard guards and wings if they need to. And Edey did impressed at the combine, but I still don't know if he's that guy that can, be like Chet or Wimby that can switch on the perimeter and guard guards and wings.
All right. I like it. Brandon, you've sold me on your shocking pick. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate you as always.
Absolutely. Thank you, KJ.